Hello again, and thank you for deciding to join me today. In this first set of videos, we will be looking at the crime scene generally, but in this video in particular, we will be looking at those who arrive first on the scene. Again, I would like to stress that this video does not presume any prior knowledge of this kind of stuff on your part, and it is meant to act as a sort of springboard for you to further your own knowledge and understanding. Okay then, so what sort of things are we going to be looking at today? Well, first off, we will start by looking at briefly what a crime scene actually is, and then we will be moving on to the main topic at hand, which today is about the role of first responders, and ending with a brief look at the role of the senior investigating officer. Okay then, so what is a crime scene? As small as a computer or as large as an aeroplane crash. A crime scene is the largest area that may contain valuable evidence for later investigative work. By methodically protecting, searching, and documenting the crime scene, police and forensic specialists work together to ensure that nothing of importance escapes scientific and legal scrutiny. Even the tiniest fingerprint smudges on a window pane could eventually prove to be very useful. Without taking basic evidence handling precautions, crime investigations are fatally compromised before they have even begun. Okay then, so now we're going to move on to the main topic. So once a serious crime has been committed, who are the first people on the scene and what are their roles? So with the sirens wailing, the emergency services rush to the crime scene. The police officers, along with fire and ambulance crews, see what the other investigators never will see: a completely undisturbed crime site. But before they can exploit this one chance to preserve and record evidence, they may well have other, more important responsibilities at hand. Whatever the type of crime, the priority is always to preserve life and assist any victims, ensuring that they are not in any more danger. But once any injuries they have sustained are stabilized and they are safe and composed, the importance of further assisting victims must be weighed up against the risk that in doing so, evidence may well be destroyed in the process. For example, a victim of an assault may well be discouraged from washing themselves in case they have the suspect's blood, skin, or hair on them. Okay, so after supporting victims, the next and probably equally as obvious role of the police is to detain and remove suspects. The apprehended are searched and their condition, statements, and behaviour are all documented. Items of clothing may well also be seized for further forensic analysis. A less obvious task of the police is to make sure that suspects cannot return to the crime scene. Their return may make it difficult to prove at trial that traces of their presence, such as fingerprints, fibers, or hairs, etc., originated when they committed the crime rather than when they returned to the scene under police supervision. As also, if they revisit the scene of the crime, bystanders may see them for a second time, possibly prejudicing identification evidence. As part of the job of those first at the scene is to detain both willing and reluctant witnesses. People who see the crime committed are not necessarily eager to relive the experience in the pursuit of justice. Even if they are not eyewitnesses, people near the scene can nevertheless provide information that might prove valuable in the investigative process. If it is impossible to make statements from them immediately, witnesses should be separated to prevent them from discussing what they saw. This not only prevents one witness's recollections from being tainted by the ideas of another, but it also ensures that if a suspect is caught and tried, defense solicitors will have less opportunity to cast doubt on eyewitness evidence. The more people that visit the scene of a crime, the more difficult it is for investigators to reconstruct what happened and to identify potential suspects. So the next priority is to seal off the crime scene and protect any evidence it contains. Clearly, the size of the area to be sealed depends on the individual circumstances of the crime itself. But it should be big enough to enclose not only the immediate area of the crime, but also any points of entry and exit. In major crime investigations, the area cordoned off needs to extend well beyond the actual crime scene, which is accessible only to investigators. Excluding the public from the wider area makes it easier to manage the crime scene and provides a secure zone for communications, incident vehicles, and for dealing with the media. Sealing off a crime scene is not just about enclosing it in a ring of tape. An effective plan for controlling the scene must also define a single route in and out. This normally involves one exit and entry route marked off for access by all forensic and scene investigators. Personnel numbers should be kept to a minimum and all visitors should wear protective overalls to avoid cross-contamination. It is also important to document every visitor to the scene. An accurate log of when each arrived and left and what they removed can be used at trial to deflect defense accusations of evidence tampering. Foresight and a methodical approach by those first on the scene can help preserve and record evidence that might otherwise be destroyed. Unthinking routines such as flushing toilets or using the telephone can dispose of vital evidence, and recording whether a door was open or closed may make the difference between a killer going to jail or walking free. When crime scene managers reach the scene, their primary aim is to interview the police officers who arrived initially in order to document the crime scene. By walking through the area together, investigators can collect information about transient evidence such as a dissipated odor. So those first on the scene need to register as much information as possible about the undisturbed surroundings. Further forensic investigation could later hinge upon what they report. Okay, so now we're going to move on and talk a little bit about the role of the SIO, or the Senior Investigating Officer. A call from those first on the scene mobilizes senior officers and other agencies. Major crimes may then be investigated by literally hundreds of police as well as civilian specialists. Their coordination is the job of the Senior Investigating Officer, or SIO, who sets out deployment inquiry teams, house-to-house teams, and scene of crime teams, and collects and directs the administrators who collate, file, and analyze evidence. Scene of crime teams, each headed by a scene of crime manager and supervised by a crime scene coordinator, report directly to the Senior Investigating Officer. If the investigation concerns a number of different scenes, then separate scene of crime teams are allocated to each site. This helps to avoid cross-contamination where evidence from one location may be inadvertently transferred to the other. For example, carrying material on the sole of someone's shoe. Okay, and that concludes the end of this video, of my first proper video at any rate, of this crime scene series. and be sure to catch me again next time, where we will be looking at the role of the forensic photographer. Have a great day, guys. Thank you.